assemble the necessary equipment. Step 1. Call 911. Step 2. Protect yourself by taking body substance isolation precautions, in this case, gloves. Treat any blood or fluids as if they're infectious. Step 3. Make sure the scene is safe. It doesn't help anyone if you get hurt too. Step 4. Have your patient put their arm in a comfortable position. Step 5. Check for a pulse. A lack of pulse is a sign of circulatory compromise. Step 6. Measure your splinting material on the patient's uninjured arm. Roll the end of the splint so the patient has something to grab onto. Then, carefully bend the splint into a C shape to accommodate the patient's arm. Alternatively, you can use the sugar tong configuration. Have your patient make a fist and then bend the splint around their arm, again making a C shape on the top and bottom of their arm to accommodate it. Either method is acceptable. Step 7. Do not attempt to reset a compound fracture. Do not attempt to reset unless severely deformed or required for transport. Reset the fracture by grabbing above and below the break and pulling gently away. Step 8. Carefully place the splinting material under your patient's arm. Step 9. Begin wrapping the splint and the arm, moving from the wrist towards the elbow. The wrap should not be so tight as to cause the patient any further discomfort or to cut off circulation. Secure the wrap in place. In this case, we'll be using the clip included with the bandage. Alternatively, you can use 2 strips of cloth or cravats to perform your wrap. Simply wrap by the wrist, ensuring not to tie the knot on your patient's arm. Reassess the pulse, grab your second piece of cloth, and wrap below the break, ensuring again not to apply the knot to your patient, and then reassess the pulse again. If using the sugar tong configuration, wrap around the entire splint, moving from wrist towards elbow, again ensuring not to wrap so tightly as to cause additional discomfort or circulatory compromise. Affix the wrap in place and reassess the pulse. Step 10. Reassess the pulse. Step 11. Apply the sling by placing a cravat under the patient's arm. Bring both tails of the cravat towards the patient's head, and then tie the ends in a knot, creating a loop around the back of the patient's neck, ensuring not to tie the knot directly on the patient's neck. Tie a knot at the end of the cravat near the patient's elbow to ensure the patient's arm does not fall out of the sling. Step 12. Create a swath by taking 2 cravats and tying them together in a knot. Wrap your newly created swath around the patient and their arm. The purpose of the swath is to immobilize the arm to the patient's body. This helps prevent further injury from movement. Ensure that you do not tie so tightly as to cause injury to your patient. Step 13. Reassess the pulse again. Step 14. Continue to reassess your patient every 5 to 15 minutes. Step 15. Continue to attempt to contact 911 and/or transport your patient to the nearest hospital. Thanks for watching.